Welcome back, and now for the news in detail. In Iraq, the parliament passed a resolution asking the government to end the presence of the US troops in the country. The details are in this report. The resolution says the government must work to prohibit foreign troops from using the country's terrorists for any reason. Parliament resolutions are non-binding to the government, but Iraqi Prime Minister Adil Abdul Mahdi has earlier called on Parliament to end foreign troop presence. Earlier, the Iraqi Foreign Ministry summoned the US ambassador to condemn the American airstrikes in Baghdad. In a statement, the ministry said the attacks were a blatant violation of Iraqi sovereignty. Meanwhile, the US-led coalition has halted its operations against ISIS in Iraq and Syria to focus on protecting coalition forces amid soaring tensions with Iran. But an official says the US-led coalition could still carry out some operations and would act in self-defense against the militants. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says Washington will act in line with international law over Middle East tensions. In an interview, Pompeo defended the intelligence assessment that led to the killing of top Iranian general in an airstrike in Baghdad. Earlier, President Donald Trump threatened to hit 52 Iranian targets if Tehran retaliates by attacking any American citizens or assets. The president said Washington would use some of the brand new equipment on Iran without hesitation. Responding, Iran's Foreign Minister Javad Zarif said targeting cultural sites constitutes a war crime. Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi called up his Iranian and UAE counterparts and discussed the regional situation after the killing of Iranian commander Major General Qasem Soleimani in a US airstrike in Baghdad. Pakistan has already urged both the United States and Iran to exercise restraint. On Friday, the Pakistan's Foreign Office expressed deep concern over increasing tensions in the region. It called for the resolution of the dispute through diplomatic means. Pakistan military spokesperson Major General Asif Ghafoor has said the country will not become part of any action that aims to disrupt peace in the region. In an interview, Ghafoor said Prime Minister Imran Khan has already assured that Pakistan won't allow its soil to be used against any country. The Director General ISPR said Pakistan is partner of peace and peace alone. He said Pakistan wants peace in the region but will not compromise on the sovereignty of the country. He said Pakistan always stressed the need to resolve issues through dialogue. Major General Asif Ghafoor said Army Chief General Qamar Javed Bajwa played an important role to end conflicts in the region. Moreover, Washington's killing of Iranian commander Major General Qasem Soleimani has received mixed reactions from around the world. People in the United States took to the streets against the raid and their president. More about their anger in this report.
More than 70 protesters were organized across the country by a US-based anti-war coalition. The protest organizers said the Trump administration has essentially started a war with Iran by assassinating Soleimani. From Tampa to Philadelphia and San Francisco to New York, protesters carried signs and chanted anti-war slogans. In Washington, D.C., dozens of people protested against the airstrike and U.S. troop deployments to the Middle East. Armed with a variety of chants and signs, the demonstrators began their day outside the White House. Actor and activist Jane Fonda joined the crowd, bringing her message of climate change awareness to the protest.
Please understand, the Pentagon is the biggest institutional user of fossil fuel in the world. That we can't anymore lose lives and kill people and ruin an environment because of oil and fossil fuels. No matter what it takes.
The group marched from the White House and along Pennsylvania Avenue to the Trump International Hotel. Also in Los Angeles, people gathered to protest against war, holding up posters that read "No War on Iran."
In the Iranian city of Ahvaz, a funeral procession of slain Commander Qasem Soleimani has begun hours after his remains arrived from Iraq. Thousands of mourners gathered in the southwestern city while holding portraits of Soleimani. The funeral ceremony was held in Baghdad, Karbala and Najaf on Saturday. The next destination of the funeral procession will be Mashhad. The bodies of Soleimani and acting head of Abu Mehdi al-Mohandes will then be transferred to Tehran, Qum and Kerman. Soleimani and al-Mohandes were separately leaving Baghdad airport in 2 cars when they were assassinated. A group claiming to be hackers from Iran has breached the website of a US government agency. They posted messages vowing to avenge the assassination of Iranian commander Qasem Soleimani. The website of the Federal Depository Library Program was replaced with a page titled Iranian Hackers. The hacked website displayed images of Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and Iranian flag. Another graphic depicted US President Donald Trump being punched by a fist emanating from Iran as missiles fly by. The graphic narrated Iran's supreme leader Khamenei's statements after Soleimani's killing. China has issued a safety warning to its citizens living in the US amid increased security risks. This comes after the assassination of Iranian commander Qasem Soleimani by the US. In a statement, Beijing's embassy in Washington advised Chinese citizens to stay alert and take safety precautions. It said they should closely be cautious before going to public places. Anyone who fears or encounters a possible threat has been advised to contact the embassy or their local consulate. In Libya, 30 people have been killed in an airstrike on a military school in southern Tripoli by Khalifa Haftar's forces. Libya's UN-recognized government says 33 others were wounded in the raid and the death toll may rise. It confirmed that all 28 killed in the attack were army cadets. In a statement, Haftar's eastern forces said the attack was part of its operation to capture Tripoli. Earlier, Khalifa Haftar called for mobilization of forces and fight against what he described as the Turkish occupation of Libya. The UN says more than 1,000 people have been killed and at least 5,000 injured since the start of the operation. Moving on to Saudi Arabia, which has condemned the Turkish parliament's decision to deploy troops in Libya. In a statement, the foreign ministry said it is a violation of UN Security Council resolutions and undermines efforts to resolve the Libyan crisis. It said Turkish escalation constitutes a threat to regional security and interferes in the internal affairs of an Arab country. Earlier, Libya's eastern-based parliament voted unanimously against deals on security and maritime cooperation the Tripoli-based government signed with Ankara. The parliament also voted to cut relations with Turkey and referred the head of the GNA, Fayez al-Sarraj, for prosecution on charge of high treason. More stories to follow, but right after a short break. Stay tuned with Indus News. Welcome back. As Kashmiris around the world are observing the 71st anniversary of a UN resolution on a plebiscite in the occupied valley, Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan says the UN should fulfill its promise of granting the right to self-determination to the people of occupied Kashmir. Khan said the 5th of January reminds the world, especially the UN, to honor its commitment to the Kashmiris. He said the Security Council has failed to fulfill its pledge to the Kashmiri people. Khan went on to say New Delhi has turned the region into a prison by keeping 900,000 troops. He said Kashmiris have been deprived of basic human rights for over 150 days. Khan said the world must ensure that the perpetrators of rights abuses must be held accountable. The Prime Minister reaffirmed Pakistan's political and diplomatic support to the Kashmiris in their freedom struggle. Croatia reaffirmed Pakistan's political, diplomatic and moral support to the valiant Kashmiris in their just struggle. In a latest string of Islamophobic attacks, a mosque in Czech Republic city of Brno has been vandalized with graffiti threatening to kill Muslims. Police said they are investigating the incident. They said the perpetrator will face up to 1 year in prison if convicted. Local Muslims said they are taking the incident a serious and direct threat. In Hong Kong, police arrested over 40 protesters after they hurled petrol bombs at a police station near the border with China. Thousands of protesters were marching towards a shopping mall before police stopped them. The demonstrators took aim at traders from China who buy vast amounts of duty-free goods in Hong Kong. The protest started in June against a bill allowing extradition to mainland China. The bill was withdrawn in September, but demonstrations continue and now demand complete democracy. In Spain, socialist leader Pedro Sanchez has failed in a first attempt to get Parliament's backing to form a government. Now he has 2 days to secure Parliament's support to end an 8-month political gridlock. Sanchez needed 176 votes for an absolute majority in the 350-seat assembly to be confirmed as the country's prime minister. But he got 166 votes. He will face Parliament again on Tuesday to win a simple majority to become the prime minister. He is likely to get that after securing a deal from 13 lawmakers of Catalonia's largest separatist party to abstain from voting. Croatians are voting to elect a new president today in the second and final round of polling. It comes just days after the country took over the presidency of the European Union. In the first round of voting 2 weeks ago, former Prime Minister Zoran Milanovic led the race by 30%. Milanovic finished ahead of incumbent Conservative President Kolinda Kitarovic. Exit polls suggest the race for the next 5-year presidential term could be tied, with Kitarovic marginally ahead. Incumbent President Kitarovic, the country's first female president, is running for a second term. In Indonesia, the death toll from the floods has risen to 60 after torrential rains caused landslides in Jakarta. Disaster management officials warned the death toll may rise more. The Met Agency feared possibility of more torrential rain in Jakarta, with thousands of people are still unable to return to their waterlogged homes. Nearly 200,000 people have taken refuge in shelters in Jakarta. Meanwhile, President Joko Widodo has announced a plan to move the capital to Borneo Island to take pressure off Jakarta. In Cambodia, the toll in the collapse of an under-construction building has risen to 36. Governor Ken Sata said the 7-story building collapsed in the coastal town of Kep, leaving 23 others injured. He said 3 of the bodies have not been pulled out yet. Sata said authorities have detained the building owners for questioning. Six German tourists have been killed and 11 others injured when a speeding car ploughed into them in northern Italy. Police said the victims were near their bus when a car slammed into them in the South Tyrol region that borders Austria. The driver of the car was arrested and taken to hospital under police guard. The region is popular with the tourists who use the ski slopes of Klossberg and Spokesperson. Strong winds in southeast Australia are hampering efforts by firefighters to contain the raging bushfires. Officials say weather systems with powerful gusts threaten to further spread the blaze in New South Wales. Officials say military helicopters have been deployed to evacuate people trapped by flames in the state of Victoria. 4 people are still missing in the state. New South Wales Fire Commissioner Shane Fitzsimon said hundreds of homes may have been razed. 146 fires are still burning across the state and about 65 have not been contained. At least 23 people have been killed across the country since September. Over 1,200 homes have been destroyed, while millions of hectares of land scorched. It's time for a short break. We'll be right back. Lows and the highs of the business world now. The Gulf stocks have declined sharply in the wake of a US drone strike in Baghdad that killed Iran's military commander. The shares of Saudi Arabian oil company Aramco have dropped nearly 2% amid growing tensions in the Gulf region. The drop in shares have touched its lowest level since it started trading last month after a record initial public offering. The Kuwaiti index was plunged over 4%, while Saudi stocks were reeling over 2%. The indices of Dubai and Abu Dhabi have also dropped, with the shares of property firm Emaar Properties falling nearly 4%. In Japan, a bluefin tuna has sold for $1.8 million in an auction at Tokyo's Toshio fish market. This is the second highest price on record. Japan's state media says the tuna was caught off the northern Omori prefecture and weighed 276 kilograms. The successful bidder was Kayoshi Kimura, who runs the chain of sushi restaurants called Sushi Zenmai. Last year, Kimura paid a record of $3 million for the tuna at the auction, exceeding his previous record in 2013. Another weather situation from around the globe. That's all for now. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at Indus.News.